On November 12, 2019, the small town of Barstow, California, was shaken by an unexpected crime. Barstow is known for its tranquility, with a population of just over 20,000, where everyone knows each other and secrets are hard to keep. But that morning, something different lingered in the air. Lisa Turner, a 35-year-old woman, seemed to have found her fairy tale when she married David Johnson in 2017. David was a successful businessman, owner of a thriving hardware store in Barstow. Lisa, formerly a kindergarten teacher, had left her career to dedicate herself to the family. David had a son from his first marriage, Mark Johnson, who was 15 at the time. In the beginning, life at the Johnsons' home seemed harmonious. Lisa and Mark had a cordial, though not intimate, relationship. Mark was still dealing with the loss of his mother and adjusting to a new maternal figure. Lisa did her best to be a good stepmother, helping with homework, attending Mark's soccer games, and trying to create a welcoming environment. As the months passed, David, frequently occupied with his business, began to spend less time at home. Lisa and Mark, on the other hand, started spending more time together. The initial barriers between stepmother and stepson began to disappear. Lisa became a confidant for Mark, someone he could share his frustrations and fears with. Mark, in turn, began to see Lisa as more than just his father's wife. In March 2019, small signs began to emerge that the relationship between Lisa and Mark was changing. Lisa, who was always outgoing and involved in the community, started to become more reserved. Friends noticed she avoided certain topics and seemed distracted. Mark, on the other hand, began displaying problematic behavior at school. He skipped classes more often and got into fights. The relationship between Lisa and Mark evolved from friendship to something deeper during the summer of 2019. David was often away on business trips, leaving Lisa and Mark alone at home. They spent hours together, watching movies, playing video games, and talking late into the night. This closeness led to a secret relationship that blossomed away from David's eyes. For Lisa, the relationship with Mark was a mix of forbidden passion and an escape from her loneliness. For Mark, Lisa was more than a stepmother. She was someone who understood him and made him feel special. However, both knew that what they were doing was wrong and that if they were discovered, the consequences would be devastating. The situation began to spiral out of control in early October 2019. David started noticing changes in Lisa and Mark's behavior. He saw how the two avoided being together in his presence and how the looks they exchanged were different. Suspicions began to arise in David's mind, and he decided to investigate further. He hired a private detective to follow Lisa and uncover what was happening. The detective's discoveries were shocking. He uncovered evidence of secret meetings and messages exchanged between Lisa and Mark that revealed the true nature of their relationship. In a furious confrontation, David accused Lisa of betrayal. She vehemently denied it, while Mark, caught off guard, remained silent. The tension in the Johnson household reached a boiling point. Trust was shattered, and the sense of normalcy that once existed was completely destroyed. The next events would lead to a tragic outcome that no one could have predicted. In early October 2019, David Johnson was determined to uncover the truth. He felt that something was terribly wrong in his home. The tension was palpable, and the behavior of his wife, Lisa, and his son, Mark, had changed drastically. Distrust gnawed at David from within, and he knew he needed answers. David hired a private detective, John Harper, an experienced veteran in infidelity and disappearance cases. John began to discreetly follow Lisa, observing her movements and documenting every step. It took only a few days for him to uncover the devastating secret that Lisa and Mark were trying to hide. The evidence John gathered was undeniable. Photos of Lisa and Mark entering and leaving a rented apartment, explicit text messages exchanged between the two, and records of meetings that took place while David was away on business trips. John presented all the evidence to David, who was devastated to see the betrayal laid out in the images and words exchanged between his wife and his son. On October 31, 2019, David decided to confront Lisa. He waited until the evening when Mark was at school, and they were alone at home. With the evidence in hand, he entered the living room and called Lisa. The expression on David's face was a mix of pain, anger, and desperation. In a moment of blind fury, Mark grabbed a glass vase from the table and used it to strike David on the head. David fell to the floor, unconscious and bleeding. Lisa screamed, horrified by what had just happened. "Mark, what have you done?" she screamed, running to David. Mark, in shock, let the vase fall from his hands. I didn't mean to hurt him. I just wanted him to stop." Lisa checked David's vital signs, but he wasn't responding. Panic overwhelmed her. "We need to call an ambulance." Mark, still in shock, agreed. Lisa grabbed the phone and called 911, trying to stay calm while explaining the situation. The ambulance arrived quickly, but for David, it was too late. He was pronounced dead at the scene. The police began investigating immediately. Lisa and Mark were taken to the police station for questioning. The shocking truth about their relationship was revealed, and the case quickly became the center of attention in Barstow. The community was in shock upon learning of the betrayal and murder that had occurred in the Johnson household. The investigation was swift, given the amount of evidence and the emotional state of Lisa and Mark. Both confessed to the relationship and the attack on David. The community of Barstow was left reeling from the details that emerged about the case. At the trial, which began in February 2020, Lisa and Mark faced charges of conspiracy and first-degree murder. The court heard testimonies from friends, family, and experts, painting a disturbing picture of forbidden passion and violence. The defense tried to argue that the attack was an impulsive act of desperation, but the evidence was clear. In March 2020, the verdict was announced. Lisa was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, and Mark received a 25-year sentence. The sentencing was a relief for many in the community who were horrified by the betrayal and murder that had occurred in the Johnson home. The tragedy left deep scars in Barstow. The Johnson home, once a symbol of family and success, became a grim reminder of what can happen when secrets and betrayals spiral out of control. The case of the stepmother and stepson in Barstow remains in everyone's memory as a cautionary tale about the dangers of forbidden desires and desperate actions. The case of the stepmother and stepson in Barstow left indelible marks not only on the lives directly involved, but also on the community as a whole. As the details of the crime were revealed, Barstow residents began to reflect on what this tragedy meant for them and what lessons could be learned from such a dark and disturbing story. The main reflection that emerged from this case was the importance of communication and trust in family relationships. David, Lisa, and Mark were, to many, a typical family trying to overcome their own difficulties. However, the lack of open and honest communication created an environment where secrets and resentments grew until they culminated in violence. The case showed how appearances can be deceiving. The Johnson family seemed to be a happy and stable family, but behind closed doors, there were deep tensions and dangerous secrets. This revelation was a wake-up call to the community about the importance of not judging by appearances alone and being alert to signs that something might be wrong, even in situations that seem normal. The secrets that Lisa and Mark kept created an environment of distrust and betrayal. When these secrets were revealed, the consequences were devastating. The reflection here is about the need for transparency and honesty in relationships. Secrets can erode trust and lead to impulsive and dangerous actions. The forbidden passion between Lisa and Mark was the catalyst for the tragedy. The reflection on this aspect of the case is the need to understand and respect boundaries in relationships, especially in family contexts. Emotions can be intense and difficult to control, but breaking taboos and social norms can have severe and irreversible consequences. The case of the stepmother and stepson in Barstow is a grim reminder of the complexities and fragilities of human relationships. The community, reflecting on the tragic events, learned valuable lessons about the importance of communication, emotional support, and transparency. Although the pain of loss and betrayal remains, the hope is that these reflections can prevent future tragedies and promote a safer and more understanding environment for everyone.